Hi, I'm Katie, and this is episode 94 of Ornamentations, which should be a really fun mixture of cross-stitch, embroidery, haul, and giveaways. Today I have two finishes to share with you. I have a new start, I have my market haul, I also have progress on my sweep bag, which is even more glittering, sparkling, and gold than the last time you thought, oh my gosh, I just love this thing. And I also have 4 really fabulous giveaways, which we'll have at the end of today's episode. Now, in the last couple of weeks, I actually spent more time kitting than stitching. There was definitely less stitching time than I had hoped. I came up with a really exciting idea, which is going to debut later this year, but it's one of those really, why did I do this to myself? Because the piece is cool, you're gonna love it. Oh, but the kitting's a nightmare. I'm just sitting there going, why? Why did I do this to myself? But it's going to be great for you guys. You'll love it. Anyways, I have also been doing final edits on the Brut sampler booklet. I hope that that will go to press this week. If you are interested in the Brut sampler, either as a chart, a kit, or a class, there is a link to sign up to be notified when it is released in the description for this episode. Again, that's coming this summer. I don't have a hard release date on that yet. I will be getting back to you on that. But let's talk stitching. So the first thing I have to share with you is a finish on our special Silky Symposium Start Along by Pineberry Lane, Hannah and Emma Foster, and all Gobelins conversion by me, and this was led by myself as well as Laura and Brenda of Brenda and the Serial Starter. And this is my finish. The conversion's listed in the description. I did end up using the Surfine for the over one, and then the ground linen is 38 count legacy linen Irish coffee, which is, yeah, okay, that's a truer color representation. It is blowing out a lot in the light in here, but look at that glorious even stitching. So I eliminated the filler elements up here. I do really like negative space on my samplers. My original plan had been to put initials here representing different friends who were at Sampler Symposium. However, when it came down to it, I tried out some different colors for the initials and I couldn't find anything that really fit. So I decided to just stick with the negative space, and then I was going to do a tile finish where this would have just been backed. Right now it's just laced over padded mat board and then displayed as is. The curious crafters here on Flosstube have experimented a lot with tile finishes, which are really fun. I still haven't tried one. I decided after looking at this that I am actually going to frame this. I'm going to get a custom frame from this from a place they recommend, signed and numbered, and frame it myself. Because there's so much negative space up here, because there's no border, to me it just looks a little unfinished and unframed like this. A frame will provide that necessary finishing touch. One other thing I'd like to note about this is that there's an optical illusion here, that there's more space at the top than at the bottom. The margins are actually an equal 1/2 inch on all sides. I measured quite carefully. But the grounding effect, the greater visual and color density, as well as darkness here at the bottom, opposite the more negative space at the top, just kind of makes this look closer to the edge than this is, even though these are actually equal margins. So I am going to pop this into a frame when it comes, and I will see if I like that, or if I want to just cheat this upwards to correct for that optical illusion, something where the margins aren't actually equal on a ruler, but they might look more equal, because there can be a vast difference between what something actually is and how it appears. So this piece is now finished. I will show it again once I have a frame on it, and it commemorates Sampler Symposium 2025 and time with friends spent there. It was a really special event, and Oh, I love this. A lot of you have joined us in this stitch along. You still can if you would like to. And this has been an introduction to SWAT Gobelins for many of you. These are the colors. Sorry, I forgot. I was going to show you the colors. Bright, beautiful, happy, tastic silks. Really love it. I know a lot of you have enjoyed the introduction to Gobelins, which thrills me. So that is Hannah and Emma Foster, stitched and personalized by me. I also have another finish, a small one, and this is my April 12 by 12. So Karen of Fox and Rabbit and I are attempting a 12 by 12 one Christmas ornament for every month of the year. We're both mostly keeping up. We are each 1 month behind. I now have my April ornament, and if I can knock out another one in April, which, you know, fingers crossed, I will be fully caught up. So my April 12 by 12 is an adaptation of a piece from the Victoria Sampler. This one right here, as I've shown you before, my mom made one exactly following, well, not exactly, following the Victoria Sampler chart with a few personalizations, back to commemorate when I moved into this house, and I wanted to do something similar but adapted to fit my materials for some friends who have a new home and a new baby, and this is my finish for them. Sorry, hanger was tangled. This is my finish for them. So this is on 40 count mason linen, and I completely recharted to make it fit 40 count. Obviously everything had to be stretched, tweaked around. I strongly recommend just using the Victoria Sampler chart, quite frankly. And then I also, because I can't resist, jazzed it up with some Bijoux, which I used for all the lettering, and added some beads, some crystals. There's rice stitch for the berries, personalized on the bottom, just like my mom did for me. I added sequins and crystals to the top, which just adds a fabulous little bit of texture. And then it's personalized and also commemorates their new home. So it is going to go to these friends along with the ornament to celebrate their baby, to ornaments from me to commemorate this very special time in their life. We looked at this on my last episode. I did want to note about the finishing here. So this is hard, and I thought, okay, great, I'm just gonna put this over Bristol, whip everything together, that'll be easy. I didn't look closely enough at this, and this is a amateur hour mistake. I'm feeling kind of silly about this. So if you look, mine's completely flat because it's just been stretched over Bristol board. This has just a little bit of softness because it has also been stretched over Bristol mat board, something similar. I'm gonna go with mat board actually, but it's been lightly padded, and that just little bit of softness really aids the finish, I think. So I wish I had done that, but this is still a pretty good result. This is stitched with an original silk version, which I will put in the description. You can use the same threads 2/2 to just do the Victoria Sampler chart, which is what I would really recommend. And then it's on a 40 count mason linen sewing bird medium dark. I actually really struggled with that. I had more distortion than I've ever had across stitching, and I also found it a little difficult to see because the weave was quite tight, and it is a relatively dark linen. That was actually a little, it threw me a little bit because I can stitch on 53-63 without any visual aids at all. So I was like, is my eyesight finally going here? Why am I having so much trouble with this? However, one thing I will say is that the struggles I had with it do not show in the stitching at all. I think the stitches look just perfect. So pretty satisfactory. Again, I wish I had lightly padded out this finish to just soften it a little. It would have really benefited from that, but I trust that my friends will know that it was made it with love, and we'll hang these on their tree in memory of me. These are the threads. I will list them in the description. 2 of these actually go right into another conversion, which is what I am going to show you next. That is my new start. And that is chart I bought since I saw you last, which is Not Forgotten Farm Carrot Top. This is all the fault of Laura Duet, who sent this to me and said she was going to start it. She lived in Susan Stanley as well, so the 3 of us are doing it. Laura's already finished. I only started this last night because this guy took me so long. There's not that much stitching in this, but took forever. Couldn't believe it. Anyways, so only started Carrot Top last night, and I have a very weeny little start. Excuse me, inadvertently swore there, to show you. This is on the New Legacy linen color Coastal Haze, and as always, this is going to be an original silk conversion, and these are the working threads. I'll put them in the description, but as always, no conversion is final until I have actually finished the piece. I have already changed out the color I wanted to use for the overalls. I had originally picked out something a little more brown because I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for. When I had this color, which is a 103, the rest of the conversion is mostly Gobelins. It was looking like a steel gray to me, cool, more blue undertones. However, and on Carrot Top, this shows a little more brown and gray, which is really what I was going for. But put it on the right linen, and that is really what you see in it. So, color, it's a moving target. I think that's going to turn out really, really well. I should have a finish for you next time. The other thing I wanted to know about thread and color, which is that I reuse colors all the time. So I've said this before, I will say it again. Please keep an inventory of your threads, especially if you follow along with my silk conversions. You will often find that you have much of what you need. So only 1 thread in here is a repeat from Hannah and Emma, although quite frankly you could easily sub the Brut for the white that I have used, Blanc, and then you'd have 2 of them. And 3 are used in the Wonderful Life drum kit, which is still available. Even though the colorways are quite different, you need basic colors in most pieces, and those are very often repeats, at least in my world. Like a lot of designers, I have definite color preferences, and that means I return to the same shades pretty frequently. Now, I also wanted to mention the conversion I think is probably incomplete because something I didn't pick up just from looking at the photo, but a detail I really like is that there is a second green here in the Carrot Top, and I will add that to this. I think that's probably also going to come from the Wonderful Life drum conversion colorway, so that'll go up to 4 of the colors will be from the Wonderful Life drum. The title of this also really makes me laugh, and this is also the reason I wanted to put back in that second green. I was called Carrot Top every single day in the 3rd grade, and I would respond the same way every time, which is carrot tops are green, not orange, but you know what, they are. And then whoever 3rd grader would do this would say, well, carrot bottom. And I would say, not orange. And they'd have to think about that one. And then we'd replay the exact same conversation the next day. Because, man, little kids, they like to just do the same thing over and over and over again. I absolutely hated my hair color when I was a child. As an adult, I've grown to love it. But yeah, you get called a Carrot Top every single day in the 3rd grade. Doesn't make you like how you look. But that little detour aside, let's go on to Market Haul, which is now here. Came the afternoon after I filmed last time, naturally. And then I also have another purchase to go with carrot top from Not Forgotten Farm, which is not technically market haul. This is just haul, and that is Robin Birdwell, which I want to stitch as a little hanging piece for my mom. I know she would love this, and also I can say this out loud that it'll be a Mother's Day gift because she's on a remote island with no internet at the moment and not watching my Flosstube, so I can tell you my plans. Isn't that cute? I'm gonna put a crystal edging on it, make it into a little oval hanging ornament. She's gonna love it. So with any luck, I'll have both of these done to show for you on the next episode. So haul, and then let's finally, I've been teasing this for ages, look at my picks from Market. The first one is just one of those things where I looked at that and thought, oh well, I already know all the Gobelins colors I would use and they would be fabulous, and that is Spring Swan by Brenda Gervais. But also look really great with just some beads and crystals to accent those florals, those daffodil centers. So we'll see. Maybe even a little ribbon in place of this stitched bow on this one. I can see myself having some fun with that. So that's pick number one. And then my animal cracker pick from Market was not Lily the Frog, which seems to be everybody else's favorite, but Millie the Elephant. How stinking cute is that? I also think that could be a great gift for a child. So, on the other hand, once I put crystals and sequins and beads all over it, probably a less great gift for a child, so maybe I will just stitch that for myself. Probably on a smaller count. I'd kind of like to make it tiny. That would be really cute. And then also Nashville exclusive Joy by Shakespeare's Peddler. Love the flowers. I would probably very predictably not stitch the words, just do that, and again stitch it small, make it into an ornament for the tree, add some sparkle. I'm so predictable. I mean, how many times am I going to say that in this episode? Add some sparkle, add some crystals, add some beads, add some sequins. Yeah, just don't make that into a drinking game. You will get alcohol poisoning. And then next from Plum Street, because you knew there had to be a Plum Street. I can't believe there's only one Plum Street. Something's wrong with me. I'm sure I'll buy more of them later. And that is Tomato Hill, which I think is a fabulous centerpiece, although I would definitely change the ground fabric on that. Wayfarer's Cloak is calling to me a really rich gray to kind of make everything pop right off the fabric. Again, another one where I look at that and go, I can see the colors. And then the last chart I bought from Market, which I'm not going to stitch. This is just for reference before you all think that I have gone and lost my mind, is a Needlework Press, Hannah Wilson, and Ackworth Quaker sampler. So this is going to go into my letter book. As you might have noticed, I like to change things up on charts. I like to personalize them, add my own name, change the verse, and I can do that work by graphing it all out myself, but it is also sometimes kind of nice to just have easy references that you can pull. So I keep a little book of charts that have some great alphabets in them. One of them is Modern Folk Embroidery, KGIT, obviously. The Frisian Letters booklet is in there as well as some others that we've looked at in the past. And to that, I'm going to add Hannah Wilson, which I thought was great because you've got lowercase and capitals in a variety of sizes. If you like the font, you could use that for just about any application, personalizing something. So really super useful because then you can just pull that right off the chart and don't have to do any work yourself, which I love. So yeah, Hannah Wilson. Now going in the letter book, which I keep on my shelves as a reference, really helpful, highly recommend if you're interested in personalizing your own things. So those were my Market picks, and then I did have one other bit of haul, which I'm realizing is over there. So I'm going to pause this. Hold please. Okay, last bit of haul, and this is a new book that was sold by Thistle Threads. It is currently sold out. Trisha is getting one final shipment of books and has a notification on our website, so if you would like this, quantities will be very limited. Make sure you sign up so that you don't miss it. And this is a book from a German museum on Virulent samplers. Oh! You can see why I had to have this. This has been listed as coming soon on our website for ages. So as soon as I got the email that this was in, I shoomed so fast. It's quite a slender book. It is in German. However, an English translation has been provided, and I think after talking to Trisha, there was some extra research from the author that was included in this as well. I haven't actually had a chance to read this yet, but it all comes packaged together when you purchase it from Thistle Threads. And one thing in here that I thought was so interesting, so there are some examples of both what we think as virulent samplers, ones that look like AKGIT, and other just samplers from the Virulent region that do not look like, that are just more like standard German samplers. But something I thought was so interesting is that some of these are whips, and you can see how they were moving between the pattern, well, the different motifs in the pattern, how they were marking those out so that they could move around. This was fascinating to me because I have done a full-size Virulent sampler, AKGIT 1833 by Modern Folk Embroidery, and the way I approached stitching that piece was completely different. So it's not all that often you get what it is essentially a how-to to how a historic girl approached her stitching, and I found this absolutely fascinating. There are multiple instances of this in the book, and this was actually even more interesting to me than getting to see some of the other examples of virulent samplers in this book. I am also really interested in reading the text. I just haven't had a chance to do that yet. That's on my to-do list. It's been a really busy couple weeks. I'm a little fried in all honesty. So this was from Thistle Threads, again, currently sold out, but I will link this in the description, and you can sign up to be notified. Only a very limited number of books is coming in for the second round, so you will have to be quick, and you don't want to miss out on this. If you are interested in German samplers or virulent samplers, it's just the whips. So cool. And then the other thing from Thistle Threads that I wanted to mention was Trisha's latest Flosstube, which explored a wonderful sampler exhibition at the Detroit Institute of Arts. I'm not going to get to go see it, and it features some really fabulous samplers. So I highly recommend watching it. I will link it in the description. But the funny thing about this is that I have the exhibition handout because my parents went and saw this back in December at the Detroit Institute of Arts. So my mother was not at Sampler Symposium. A lot of you asked out of her. I mean, they're just, the pictures are so tiny, but you can see the pieces in all their glory on Trisha's Flosstube. So I really just recommend going and seeing all the fabulous stuff. As Trisha notes in her Flosstube, a lot of these are private collection holdings, which means they're not available for research, study, or to look at generally. So one-time chance, if you're not going to get there, make sure you check out the Flosstube. Anyways, back to my mom. She was not at Sampler Symposium because she was in Detroit for a wedding, and a bunch of the guests on not wedding day went to the Institute of Arts together, actually, to go and see this exhibition. None of them were into samplers specifically. My mom didn't even know it was about samplers. She had just heard it was a cool museum exhibition. So my parents go to this, they walk in, and my mom's like, oh oh, it's a sampler exhibition. So she wasn't at Sampler Symposium, but she actually saw some really, really cool samplers instead of attending Sampler Symposium. Obviously, she should, better life choice would have been Sampler Symposium, but it made me smile when this came up on Trisha's Flosstube because I had heard a great deal about it and had the little free booklet handout from the exhibition because my parents went, my father as well. And then, yeah, as I said, I will link the video, and it has some beautiful, beautiful pieces, out of the ordinary samplers of wonderful quality. So if you have any interest in samplers, I would really recommend watching that because there's some great eye candy in it. And then one last bit of haul that isn't here yet. So last time I showed you one of the new 40 counts from Legacy Linen. So I'm going to take this out of the bag. Crinkle alert. This is 40 count Coastal Haze. That's about right. It really washes out closer to the camera. That's perfect. It's just this touch of gray. It is perfection. I only have a fat quarter, and the more I looked at this, it's just like, you know what, that is not enough. So I went and ordered a yard. You know what, I'm gonna use it. I go through a lot of linen, that's fine. But what I wanted to do is just show you how that stacks up to some of my other favorite gray linens and how I have used them, because it's really hard to represent colors, especially linen colors, accurately here on Flosstube, and this might give you a better reference as to where this fits within existing linens that you may know if you have been a viewer of this channel. So it's most similar to an existing 37 count from Legacy Linen, Cloudburst. And although as you can see, a little lighter, Cloudburst has a little more color to it, although they're definitely tonally on the same range. And Cloudburst has never really been one of my favorites. I've only used it once, which was for my version of Peppermint and Holly. So I will link the specific conversions that I reference in this episode in the description. However, if you're ever going back and looking for something, I do have an episode guide on my website which links back, lists conversions, and it's a great way to find things. About Peppermint and Holly, which is why I'm mentioning this, there are two versions. There's my version, which is the older one, and then there is my mother's, which is on a really fabulous, fabulous Legacy Linen with a lot of color to it. So this is actually the only time I have used Cloudburst. Those cooler tones that you see in it are usually not my preference on gray. And not long after that, Himalayan Fog came along, and that just one of my most used linens since it has come out. And so okay, that's a little better. When I look at these in person and I hold them up together, Himalayan Fog, normally I would describe it as a gray with some slightly brown undertones, and that's why I like it so much. I really, really prefer my grays to have brown in them than blue. But put it against Coastal Haze and it almost shows a purple undertone to it, which I think is fascinating because color is always relative. What you see in one context, you can see something different in another context. So separate these, and I go back to thinking that the primary undertone in Himalayan Fog is a very slight brown. Put these together, I start saying purple. Not sure if that's really going to show very well on Flosstube. You may be looking at this going, Katie, you're colorblind. What's wrong with you? And then another wonderful gray linen that I've used quite often in the Legacy range is Wayfarer's Cloak. This one has a lot more color to it. So these are the three together. As you can see, they're all grays of different values, but they're not a gradient. They have definitely different undertones to them, and it's only when you put colors together that you will see that. I always organize my silk spools by color because it's when you see them in a line that the different undertones in each really start to pop up. Same thing with linen. And then the other thing I wanted to do was just quickly show you some past finishes, specifically on Himalayan fog next to coastal haze. So you can see how I have used these colors and how colors show on them. So the first is a Christmas ornament. So Peppermint and Holly is on Cloudburst, 37 count. And then this is Stacey Nash, Deck the Halls, I think, and this is on the 45 count equivalent of Himalayan fog, which totally blanking on the name. It'll be in the link in the description. So there, again, you can kind of see the tonal differences, I think. But I have used it in a lot of other seasons as well, although red really pops on it, so it has been a go-to choice on Christmas. So this is Santa Stops Here. This was a kit. The conversion is exclusive to the kit, so that, which is now retired and gone, so that will not be in the description. I can just see how the red comes alive and really actually makes the gray recede to the point where it's almost neutral and not there. I also wanted to show you a kit that is still available, and that's the Wonderful Life drum. Again, this is on Himalayan fog, and this one is a study in color subtlety because you've got all these adjacent greens, and most of the colors in the kit are actually very, very neutral, but you have this red, and that's what really gives it pop. And then again, color subtlety, I've got a lightly contrasting light gray silk satin, which is included in the kit for the top. And then the sparkling wreath that I've showed this with, that's a tutorial which is also on my channel, and you could adapt this to any number of seasons and finishes. I keep meaning to do this for a spring finish. That's on my to-do list when I have more time. Who knows when that will be. Oh, I was gonna show these next to coastal haze. I'm failing at my own concept here. Okay, now I will show things next to coastal haze so you can kind of, yes, exactly see the difference there. So this again is another Flosstube kit, retired conversion not available. Stacey Nash Blue House drum. And yeah, you can see how that would change if it was on coastal haze. They're similar in value, but that slight difference in undertone would present those colors totally differently, especially the blues. So there are some where I think you could actually really easily shift to the conversion to coastal haze if this is the kind of gray that appeals to you more. Like Wonderful Life Pinky Drum, I think would also look great on this. Big Blue House, I would not switch out the ground linen. You do really want that very specific gray. Another past Flosstube kit, now retired. I have really liked Himalayan fog for kits. And this is Tulip Festival by Brut. Again, one I think that would transition really nicely to coastal haze. I just saw a finish of this on Instagram this weekend actually, so those kits are still out there and being stitched. Again, conversion exclusive to the kit, not in the description. Also wouldn't be particularly useful even if you could, because several of the colors on here are discontinued and no longer available. Just why a lot of the kits don't come back after their original runs is that you can't always get the colors again. And then a conversion that is available is Stacey Nash, blanking on the name, Jack's House Pinky. And this conversion, I'll link to it, will be in the description. But I hope you can see how this okay, so next to the coastal haze, here you're seeing an essential brightness in the coastal haze, and the colors would not show properly on it. You would need, ooh, that slightly more toned down quality of the Himalayan fog. I hope this was interesting. If it's not, just fast forward. You don't have to listen to me when I talk. But I really actually enjoy looking at a few past finishes, how I've used my ground linen, and how I might change that in the future, because I can already tell that this is going to be a go-to color. I think it's fabulous sampler color, although I also used it on my start of Carrot Top. So with that, I've got piles of stuff all around me. Pause, and I'll be right back. So just a quick thing before we get on to my embroidery, because I can't wait to show you my sweep bag. I wanted to give you a brief kit update. So the next release is going to be Flag Thief by Plum Straight Samplers. This is going to release on May 13th ahead of Memorial Day. Hopefully the weather will be beautiful where you are and you're going to feel ready for some summer stitching. Oh, this piece is great. Those colors, oh, that's perfect. They're so vibrant. I love it. So May 13th, we'll have full details on this guy in the next episode, and then just a quick recap of the kits that are currently still available, although when supplies on these are gone, they will be gone. They will not be coming back. So the first one is a wonderful spring stitch, really any season stitch. This is Chocolate Hearts by Plum Street Samplers, which I have finished as the lid of a shaker box. Details on different finishing possibilities are included with the kit materials. Fantastic. You know, the subtler conversions never do as well as kit sales, but they actually tended to be my personal favorites. Also in the color subtlety range, Wonderful Life Pinky Drum, which we just looked at, won't belabor the point, but again, a personal favorite. And then there are still also some Cardinal Kins in stock. And that is a really vibrant kit that has done incredibly well, although honestly, this is never my favorite. My favorites tend to be things like Chocolate Hearts, the subtle color schemes that really capture my heart. So with that, I'm going to show you my sweep bag. Sweep bag, so we had a first look at this project on the last episode if you missed it, and I have to confess that I have not done as much on this as I had hoped. I need to add the decorative detailing that will go over the silk shaded flowers and really just add some detailing, pop them out. I also need to put the stems in. Oh, okay, that's a little better. Showing this is an exercise in frustration. I did get a photo of this, which I will insert here, that I thought showed this a little better, but that is still about 1/10 of the actual effect. However, I do have full background and silk shading done on 1/2 of the sweep bag. This is mirrored. You will fold these up to create a sweep bag, and because I really just didn't have the creative energy required to make decisions on this, I pulled the threads for the decorative over detailing on the flowers and then just did not feel like making any decisions. So instead I just dropped down and started in on the second half instead. But ooh, it's progress. That's looking amazing. I said on the last time that I was going to try and balance my casket stitching, my sweep bag stitching. Yeah, that was a shameless lie. I cannot tear myself away from this to the point where I'm just doing endless amounts of background filling. Who am I? I don't even know. This is weird. But I hope to have a finished front to show you next time with all of the detailing added, the stems, the little jazzy details, and then I hope some of the decorative trimmings to show as well. I want to get cracking on the tassels, which are going to be very special. After the last episode, a lot of you asked about the thread that is used for the background. That is 9 DRM gilt tambour. It's quite flexible and will be familiar to some of you, not in its gilt form, but its silver form, because it is the thread of choice in silver for the backgrounds on both the Elizabethan Valentine and Queen Anne's pen fellow. These are both classes from Kitty Struck and Artisan Embroidery that are not currently running, but will have one final limited encore running at some point in the future. I'll put a link to the notification list in the description. If you missed these and you're thinking you'd like to learn about metal thread background, silk shading, scrolling vines, florals, whatever. Or you just like the project and you missed it. That'll be in the description. But it's the same thread in the same application. So we've got tambour with a full coverage background and some shaded silk florals. I'm so predictable in my taste. Yeah, you can't show this at all. It's maddening. It just blazes with light and person's really beautiful. So the actual stitch is different. I've used Elizabethan ground filling stitch as diagrammed by Jackie Carey in her books, both Sweet Bags and Elizabethan Stitches. And then I have gone and used the gilt tambour instead of the silver. And for those of you who took Queen Anne's pin pillow, you will recognize it. This is the 25-gram mega spool, and I have ordered a second one of these from Thistle Threads because I think I will probably go through most, if not all of this on this project. I have never yet gotten all the way to the end of a 25-gram spool. I think this might be the project. We'll see. Maybe not. It is going faster than I had expected when I first started this though, so I don't know, you might be seeing a finished sweet bag from me this summer. I am really excited to show you more progress next time. This isn't exactly earth-shattering changes from the last time, but oh, it is beautiful. And I just love how the gold glitters and the silk glows and the shine is just absolutely incredible. I just wish you all could see it in person because as pretty as that is, it's not even close to what it actually looks like in person. Just metal threads, they don't come through on camera. However, that is about the end of this episode, and that brings me to giveaways. So I have 4, 2 linen, 2 mother of pearl, and the first is a remnant of the mason linen that I used on my house ornament. We didn't really get along. This is a roughly 18 by 14 piece 40 count sewing bird, medium dark, by mason linen. However, because it wasn't really right for me, doesn't mean it isn't going to be the exact perfect linen for another person, which is why I wanted to pass this along. And the keyword for this is mason, M-A-S-O-N. So hope you enjoy. It was absolutely perfect for my project. I just know I'm not going to return to this one again since I struggled with it. And then the third piece of big sampler size piece of Legacy Linen Wayfarer's Cloak from a previous giveaway was never claimed. So I'm going to redraw this, and the keyword for this will be linen. This is a 38 count. Also the ground fabric on the pin bellow, Elizabethan Valentine. Big fan of Wayfarer's Cloaks. And then the last are some fabulous mother of pearl pieces gifted by Jackie Duplessis for giveaways, although I'm actually keeping one of these for myself. So she sent pieces for another pin keep. This one has a sewing bird clamp on this. Oh, I looked at this and one particular friend came immediately to mind, so I'm going to make this and give it as a gift. But she also sent a pile of needle minders, so this is the first of multiple giveaways from Jackie. The keyword on this will be pearl, and I am going to draw 2 winners. There are 2 needle minders of 2 different types. They come in their little carrying cases, so they will be safely transported to you. They both have little holes around the edge so that you can park a thread or a threaded needle in there, and then they have subtly different designs. I will just choose one and send it to you if you are a winner. On the mother of pearl, to claim this, you must live in the United States, or at least have a shipping address in the United States that I can send this to, because mother of pearl is a natural product, and I am certain that there have got to be some kind of export requirements on that that I don't need or have a permit for. So Do not want to get in trouble, so these US only, please. Other ones worldwide, totally fine. So if you would like to enter Mother of Pearl Needleminder, gifted by Jackie Duplessis of It's Finally Finished. She is going to be launching her own website soon where you can buy her creations directly from her, which is fabulous. They're amazing. Keyword for those, Pearl. There will be 2 winners. There will be 1 winner for keyword linen, which is the Legacy Linen Wayfarer's Cloak. And then 1 winner keyword mason for the piece of mason linen sewing bird medium dark, which I'm certain will be absolutely perfect for another stitchers project out there. So for the next time, we will have winners on all 4 giveaways. I will have some more giveaways. Jackie really loaded me up. And I also hope to have a finish on Carrot Top to be fully caught up on my 12 by 12, knock on wood. That happens. That might be a little ambitious. Things are still pretty busy around here. And that I will return to some sampler projects, as well as hopefully super exciting progress on my sweep bag. We'll find out what's possible with the time that I have, and we will also have all the details on the coming Flag Thief kit release. So I will see you again in 2 weeks, and until then, happy stitching.